10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1,
Manchester United have
0.
reached the promised land.
Well, good morning, everybody. How are you all doing? Tuesday. Yesterday was a good day. Sunday was a good day. Today is going to be a good day, I think. We're here to talk about Manchester United. We're here to talk about Jim Ratcliffe, actually. Kind of found out about 15 minutes ago about something that's very, very interesting, about something that's coming up tonight. I'm going to be speaking about that. We're going to be speaking about the latest podcast episode that dropped this morning. Yes, it did. Talking about Cyprus, talking about Omonia, talking about Everton, Casemiro, Anthony, everyone else in between. We'll talk about Cody Gakpo. You can see he's the headline of the story this morning. I'll be honest, if the Jim Ratcliffe stuff, I found that earlier, that would have been the headline. But we're going to be speaking about Cody Gakpo. I mentioned him yesterday, based off the article from David Ornstein. And I'm going to go into a bit more depth on him this morning, because no doubt, United need to be active in the transfer window in January. No matter what we're hearing about planning for the summer, X, Y, Z. Look, we know we need to be active in the January transfer window, and Cody Gakpo is going to be one of the names on that list. We'll speak about him. We'll speak about Alvaro Fernandez, who's nailing it on loan at Preston, so much so that the Spanish press are talking about him. Thought that was quite interesting. And there's loads of other discussion points, as always, and you can fire in your comments, and I'll try and answer as many of your questions as possible. Who's down here from the member gang? Let's have a look. We've got T. How you doing, buddy? T and Josh. We've got Freddie. We've got Ruben, Michael Parsons, Vicky. Good morning to you. Carl Dale, Mr. Cooper. We've got Seth Benedict, Ruben, Amy. Good morning to you, Amy. Chetan, Tyler, God Sent Innocent. Nice name. Fizz, Paula. Good morning to all of you. Lots and lots of regulars and lots of new faces here too. Rotham, you enjoying the picture of Casemiro on the wall? I love Stanley Chow stuff. I've got, how many I've got? 1, 2, 3, 4. I think I've got about 10. Somewhere between 10 and 15 different ones of Stanley Chow stuff. I love his stuff. Gungshi's down there in the morning. It's the absolute OG of the channel. How you doing, buddy? Hope you had a good weekend. Nice to see you there. First thing I want to get sort of not out of the way, the first thing I want to talk about is the fact that today, the latest episode of the podcast dropped. I've already pinned it as a message on YouTube. If you haven't already seen it or listened to it, sorry. There's the link. The link to the podcast this week. It's me. I'm joined by Neil and I'm joined by Bal. And we talk about Cyprus, a little bit about the Cyprus trip. Not actually as much as I was thinking about that towards the end. I don't really talk about Cyprus that much. Spoke about that. We spoke about Omonia, the game itself, what we saw, what we learned, and Everton and what we can take forward into Omonia on Thursday and Newcastle on Sunday. You know, it's a far better week than what we had last week, wasn't it? Jeez. After the City game, everyone was on a bit of a downer. But it's what happens in football. There's going to be ups and downs under Ten Hag. I'm not sure they're going to be many bigger downs than that humiliation against City. But, geez. Garlic Bread Man, I can see you down there. Let me click that. Garlic Bread Man's joining as a member and leaving a comment as well. Let me read that up. Say, happy to have finally joined, mate. Lovely to have you on board here. Who else is down in the comments? Louis, you're saying, look, what about Sir Jim Ratcliffe? I'm going to be speaking about that right in a second, my friend. In fact, sod that. Let's speak about it right now. Now, I'm not saying this is reason to get excited, but you know full well that, well, getting the Glazers out of the club is, yeah, it's a dream. It's a dream for me. It's a dream for you. It's a dream for Manchester United. And whenever Sir Jim Ratcliffe came out, what was it? Some point in August, did an interview with the Financial Times saying that he wanted to buy his spokesperson. It wasn't Jim Ratcliffe directly, but he was this spokesperson speaking on behalf of Sir Jim Ratcliffe, saying, look, he is interested in buying Manchester United with the idea of going to a minority ownership at the beginning, with a view to a full ownership of Manchester United in the long term. But we've not actually heard from Jim Ratcliffe directly. Now, that might change this evening, and this really is very interesting. So he is having a Q&A with the Financial Times, the same newspaper that he released the interview with, well, from his spokesperson, that he was interested in buying the club. And look, it's if we go up here and we see what it's about. Leading through disruption, an evening with Sir Jim Ratcliffe, and it's his. Oh, if you've ever been to one of these events, sometimes that can be damn boring, but this one could be very, very interesting, because if we go down here and we look at the discussion points that are listed, growth for Ineos, don't really care about that. Rising costs, Don't really care about that. Football club. Manchester United, Chelsea, what are the next acquisition targets? It's listed as a key discussion point. So tonight, we should, well, look, there you go. In 7 hours and 20 minutes time, we should hear for the first time directly from Sir Jim Ratcliffe on his interest in Manchester United. And that's going to be really interesting. I don't know how in depth it's going to go. I don't know whether it's just going to be a snippet, whether it's just going to be the fact that he sort of reiterates what was said in the interview a couple of months ago with his spokesperson saying, yeah, I would be interested in buying Manchester United and not going any further than that. I imagine he's been doing stuff behind the scenes. I imagine, well, I don't imagine, I absolutely know he's a billionaire. There's no way that that interview would have been released in the Financial Times back in August and then he just would have done nothing. So if you wanted to watch this, I think this is the link. I've just signed up to it there. I'll pop it down here. You can register for free for a digital pass. I think, what is it, 7 hours time? What's that like? 5 o'clock? 7 hours. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I think that is 5 o'clock. Let's see. This could very well be where we finally get to hear from Jim Ratcliffe for a couple of minutes on his interest in buying Manchester United and hearing it from the horse's mouth rather than hearing it from a spokesperson in an interview. So make sure if you do go there, if you are free at 5, try and give that a listen. I'm going to try and tune in if I'm free. I'll try and make myself free, of course. But look, I think that's going to be an interesting one. I really, really do. And I hope Jim comes out and says, yeah, I want to buy United. Yeah, I'm already in conversations. Yes, I'm already doing stuff behind the scenes. Let's go. That's what I want to hear. But I don't know whether we're going to hear it or not. Go down here and see what else you're saying in the comments. Yogi, you're saying that Gakpo wants United. No one's saying that. Seth Benedict, you're saying Gakpo can play as a striker. Gakpo really has been like an out-and-out left winger this season so far for PSV. He does have a bit of flexibility, but he's very much a left winger. And do you think Ineos Automotive reporting their 3rd consecutive year of loss would affect any potential move? A couple of 100 million? Minor. And they're not exactly going to be struggling. Like, well, let's not get into a conversation about Ineos and them. My God, that would be the most boring thing in the world. I do not give a toss about Ineos. If it affects the idea of buying Manchester United, yeah, maybe we'll start doing a bit of a deeper dive into those numbers, but sod that. We'll just fall asleep here. Tyler is saying, look, do you think Gakpo would be a good signing considering we need a striker? That's what we're going to have the conversation about this morning, Tyler, because I think it has to be discussed. Roman, even if you want Sesko's not going to happen. Sesko's going to Leipzig in the summer. It looks like Nkunku's going to Chelsea and Sesko is going to be his replacement, and that is already done. Carl, you're saying, Sam, do a video on what he said. Yeah, I will absolutely cover everything that Ratcliffe does. If it's significant and important, I'll cover it tonight. I won't wait until tomorrow, but we'll see what goes on. It might only be a snippet or two. I'm not saying it's a massive reason to get excited, but I think hearing Sir Jim Ratcliffe be asked directly about Manchester United for the first time, I think is cause for excitement. Maybe it's not going to be the good news we want, but after that interview with the Financial Times where his spokesperson said he was interested in buying the club, I'd be surprised if it didn't go any further than that. That's what I think. So anyway, we'll find out later on. But let's speak about Cody Gakpo. I think this is an interesting conversation, probably one of the most prevalent conversations that we can have ahead of the January transfer window. We went after Cody Gakpo in the summer. We did. He was on our list. We registered our interest, but because we spent so much on Anthony, the coffers were dry. The coffers were dry. So there was no money left for Gakpo. Now, remember, he had a release clause in the summer. I spoke to Rick Elfrink about this, who writes for, was it PSV Dagblatt? Anyway, a local Eindhoven newspaper. I can't remember what the release clause was, but I think it was in the region of 20 to 30 million. And it's not that much for a player whose quality is only rising and rising and rising. And this season, given the Gakpo, right, if you imagine what was going on with Gakpo in the summer, he was linked with a move to Manchester United. He was excited about it, and then nothing happened. And then he stays at PSV. It's one of those situations where players sometimes can not use that, but it can frustrate them. Of course it can. It can absolutely frustrate players like that because the idea of an exciting move away collapses and they're staying at the club. But this season, I tell you what, Gakpo has been absolutely crushing it. Before I move on to talk about him, I want to say absolutely big up to the one and the only Gakpo, who's come back and dropped another 10 gifted memberships. He really does lead by example. Charlie Hughes, you've been gifted a membership. Look at that. Isn't that nice? Ian Holland, Victor Chukwu, Dixon Black, Neo Wesso, Keith Thomas, Dash Yap, Nikki Cadogan, Dauda Gibba, Alo, oh geez. Aloye Isakulu. Sorry if I've just butchered your name. But look, everybody say thank you to the main man himself. Gakpo, what an absolute ledge. But look, let's speak about Gakpo here because, as I said, he was an exciting player in the Eredivisie last year. And he had a release clause of 30, I think it's around about 30 million. It wasn't much at all. And the move didn't materialize. The move never materialized. And he stayed at PSV. It could have been cause for him to sort of, shoulders down, like a little bit frustrated. But I tell you what, he has been absolutely crushing it this season. Now, we spoke about this yesterday. David Ornstein saying that Cody Gakpo's potential move to Leeds is not happening as things stand because he would favour a bigger move. And that's been a sort of story that's corroborated out in different newspapers as well. We've got Pletigo, who I think he works for Sky Germany, if I'm correct. Yeah, he does. He's saying this, that Cody Gakpo would like a move to a bigger club than Leeds United. Unlucky Leeds. Like Manchester United, City, Real Madrid, Barcelona, or Bayern, a move in January is not excluded. And it's when you take a look at the numbers that Gakpo has been putting up this year that you realise how impressive it has been from him. Let's take a quick look here. So far in the Eredivisie, look, 9 games, he's got 9 goals and 6 assists. In the Europa League, 2 games, he's got 3 goals and 1 assist. And overall, he's got 16 performances, 13 goals, and 10 assists. Now, you can see right here, look, every single one of these positions, every single one. I wonder if this works on here, actually. Let me try this. Oh, look at that. I can even write on there. This might upgrade the old videos we do in the morning. Let me just, if I do that, 1 second there. Let me change the color of that. Oh, this could be a little bit of a game changer, people. Look at that. We can actually do some annotations on here as well. Oh, look. Hello. Anyway, so I got excited. So he has played every single one of his games so far for PSV this season on that left wing. He's not a striker, right? Matt Gee, look, you're down here. Like, how you doing, buddy? Saying PSV ticket holder. You're saying look, Cody is not ready for the Premier League. But I tell you what, he's not only crushing it with PSV so far this season, he's doing it for the Dutch national team as well. Because we go down here and we see his last 3 appearances for the Dutch team. He got an assist for the winner from Virgil van Dijk. He scored in the 2-0 win over Poland. And he scored in the game before against Wales as well. His last 3 games, he's contributed with either a goal or an assist. And it looks like he's played his way into Van Gaal's Dutch squad for the World Cup. Now, the World Cup is basically going to be where we learn everything about Cody Gakpo at this moment in his career. PSV season ticket holder down there saying, look, he's not ready for the Premier League. I suppose I imagine a lot of people say that about a lot of Dutch players, but you never truly know until they come. Cody Gakpo, for me, has been really, really impressive since the summer when he didn't get a move away that he might have wanted at that particular moment in time. He's absolutely crushing it with PSV as well. And also, as part of those goals, obviously, some people say, kind of fairly enough, that the Eredivisie is an easy division to score in. You go down here, you see the game where he influenced it the most. Out of all of these games, you would say the biggest game out of all of those for PSV is Feyenoord. And in a 4-3 win, he got a goal and 3 assists. So the biggest domestic game he's had so far this season has pulled out his biggest performance, although technically he's scoring a hat-trick in a 7-1 win. It's kind of contributing 1 goal and 3 assists to a 4-3 win over Feyenoord is the biggest domestic game so far. It's been very impressive from Gakpo. I think his stock is rising. And in my opinion, if we're looking at players there's always a few individuals at every World Cup that they go to the World Cup, they nail it at the World Cup, and they come back with a massively inflated price. Strikes me that Gakpo is going to be one of those players that goes to the World Cup. I suppose it all depends on how well the Netherlands do. Obviously, when Louis van Gaal was manager last time, that was just before he became United manager, finished third. That was the year, when Daley Blind, that pass to Ron van Persie for the Flying Dutchman header. No one expected Netherlands, to get that far, and they did. And no one's really expecting them to do that well in this competition, but they have hit form under Louis van Gaal over the last few months. And Gakpo's, he's now become a part of it. I'm going to go down and read a few of your comments on this situation. See what you're thinking. Alex is saying Gakpo only played 3 games last year as a centre forward, so he's definitely a left winger. So how did he fit in with Sancho and Rashford? It's a good question because it depends on whether you think that Erik ten Hag is going to be signing a Haaland type striker, somebody who is unequivocally a box predator, someone who stays central, someone who doesn't really move much, somebody who will just make sure he's in the right position at the right time. And that's Haaland, and that's certainly not Cody Gakpo. It's a different type of player completely. Whereas you might get a dynamic front three from Manchester United that almost operates with a false 9. Not a false 9 completely, but you might see Rashford drift in a little bit into the middle, but then instead of playing as a pure striker, he kind of drops a little bit deeper and maybe drifts a little bit to the left. And I don't know. It depends on what Erik ten Hag wants, and what Erik ten Hag will be able to get. 2 different things. Tyler, you're saying I'd like to see a front line of Gakpo, Rashford, and Antony. The pace in the front three would be amazing. No Martial in there, of course. And Martial, geez, I'm not done with Martial, but I think I'm done with allowing myself to get excited about Martial. I'll be happy when I watch him, but I think I'm not going to hype myself up in my head every time that I see potential and promise anymore with Martial, because ultimately it's ended in disappointment constantly. And I really like what I've seen in Gakpo, but I'm not sure I want to hang out on him right away. Still say we need a proven striker, and I have one in mind. Oh, look at that, and knows who he wants. Estevo, if we sign Gakpo, does that mean Rashford and Martial will move to a striker? Already saturated in the wing department. I think you've all got some pretty fair points. I think we know what would happen. You'd probably, out of all the people that you've got here at Manchester United, I don't think he should be there, but you'd probably say Rashford's the one who you could say would go through the middle. Martial too. They can both play through the middle, but neither of them are natural strikers. They're not. They're just learning how to do it. They're not like a Haaland. They're not like a Van Persie. They're not those sorts of players. It's not as if they can't play there, but they're not naturally strikers. Rashford's a natural winger, and I think Martial's a natural winger. In the same way that Cody Gakpo is a natural winger. But Nick, you're down here in the super chat. Cheers, buddy. You're saying he can play up top, but I feel we need an out-and-out striker and a real number 9. We've got enough wingers, and Martial could even go back and compete for the left wing spot again if needed. And I don't think I don't think you're too wrong there. I just don't know who that is. And I can see you talking about Lautaro Martinez. My God, you like that dude. You've mentioned him about 1 million times over the last summer or so. We're not going to get Lautaro Martinez. Come on, people. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. That's a fantasy football type manager signing. You look at it, you look at the numbers, it's great, it's great. It's not going to work. It's not going to happen. Let's not waste any time on it. I've already done a video on who is it? Gonzalo Ramos, the Benfica striker. We're going to have to sign somebody like, well, not necessarily like him, but somebody who has potential. We're not going to go out there, in my opinion, we're not going to go out there and sign somebody for like 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 million as a striker. I don't think it will happen. I think what we need to be doing, and what we probably will, maybe not what we need to be doing, but we will sign somebody in the region of 30 to 40 million pounds, euros, whatever, it doesn't really matter. And we'll mold them, and we'll watch them grow at United. Whether that's going to be Gonzalo Ramos from Benfica, who's absolutely crushing it this season. It's going to be a signing like that. Quite a few of you mentioning Benjamin Sesko down here in the comments. But why are you wasting your time mentioning Benjamin Sesko? He's already joined RB Leipzig. He's already gone. Vamos. He's gone. The transfer's already done. And Kunku's leaving with a release clause, and Benjamin Sesko is going in to RB Leipzig. No point having a conversation about Sesko. And I wouldn't say that was particularly Manchester United's fault and we missed out on him. It's just that Red Bull Salzburg sold to Red Bull Leipzig. They kept it in the Red Bull family. And that's kind of just exactly what happened there. What are we saying down here? Imole, you're saying that given the injury situations with Martial, we can just play Rashford up front and Gakpo on the left with Sancho. There's options. And as I said, it all depends on how Erik ten Hag defines what this attacker needs to be. It's up to Erik ten Hag. A few of you down there in the comments, I see Anthony mentioned him, Tarquin mentioned him. You both mentioned Ivan Toney. I've spoken about Ivan Toney as a potential centre-forward signing as well. I don't think he'll be in the World Cup squad. I think he'll just miss out on it, which will probably be good for United because it means his price won't go up. And I mentioned Gonzalo Ramos. We need, and I'm using the word need because I think the emphasis needs to go on that. We need a striker in January. I really, really do. It's not a case of want. It's a case of need. And that is the definition of that is important here. Because, and the way things are going this season, look, you know what's mad? Liverpool plays City this weekend. And we play Newcastle. If we can get the result that we need to, and we beat Newcastle at home, and that Liverpool City game goes exactly how you think it's going to go, we'd have an 8-point gap over Liverpool. Now, that's some difference to what it was last season. But we are missing that striker. I'll be honest, if we're looking at the last 2 games in particular, have really made it obvious. And trust me, I'm not saying that Gakpo is the answer to this because I don't think he is. But the last 2 games, we have created chances galore and not scored enough. The game should have been dead and buried against Omonia. And by the time Rashford got that goal that was disallowed, it should have been 3-4 goals by that point already. But it wasn't. Now, a player like Haaland changes that because he gets into the better positions. So many chances that United had were sort of half chances where they should have been better chances with smarter decisions. That's what we've been getting wrong in these last 2 games. There's lots to love. Both wins, brilliant. Both games we went 1-0 down. Both games required a response. And the response came good. But we need a striker. I just don't know whether that striker is going to be an out-and-out striker, an Haaland-type player, or whether Erik ten Hag is going to adopt a different type of policy and maybe get someone like Cody Gakpo in, who's not really a striker, but it means United would just have a really, really fluid and dynamic front 3 where all the players can kind of operate in those positions. It makes it harder to score those cutbacks because you haven't really got that number 9 that you can rely on in the middle to be in the right place at the right time. But it makes you far more unpredictable as an attacking unit. So honestly, it depends on what Erik ten Hag wants and how he defines this attacking signing he needs to make. He will make an attacking signing. I just don't know whether that's going to come in the shape of someone like Cody Gakpo or of someone like Gonzalo Ramos or Ivan Toney. There's quite a few names that you look at it and go, yeah, I'll go after that. That's a row comment here from Ruben. Vlahovic. I mean, we're not going to go. Vlahovic was signed by Juve for what, like 75 million? Guys, this is where I'm going to try and give some realism to all of you. We're not spending that much on a striker. That's just the reality. You can be pissed off about it if you want. You can, yeah, and you've got fair grounds to be. But it's not happening. So any striker in my, and I might be spectacularly wrong on this, but my gut instinct is telling me we're not spending anywhere north of 50 million on an attacker, and certainly not in January. Sorry, this comment made me laugh. Big up Igalo, by the way. You know what's really sad about Igalo? Igalo scored the absolute banger of his life away at Lask. And that was a game that was during the COVID. And it was played behind closed doors and no fan was in the stadium. Scored an absolute perler. Oh, mate, hip-hop juice. They don't make many Van Nistelrooys. They really, really don't. He's honestly, I still think he's the best striker I've seen at United. And I've seen plenty of good strikers, including Van Persie, including Rooney, including Jesus, been so many. But Van Nistelrooy was a different gravy altogether. Remember, did you watch the Paul Scholes interview with Gary Neville? He was like, man, Ruud van Nistelrooy was my favourite guy to play with. Jonathan's a very fair point there. We need to shift Jones, Tuanzebe, Williams, Van der Beek, and Maguire and Telles at the least. Telles is off loan at Sevilla, obviously. Tuanzebe, is he on loan somewhere? Can't remember. I think he just got injured. Jones is a ghost. Williams is just training with us. Van der Beek has got no future at the club. And Van der Beek, man, it's a real shame. It really is a real shame what's happened with Van der Beek. But it's, man, not even Ten Hag's playing him, man. The same manager who brought him through at Ajax. He obviously doesn't have what it takes to cut it at Manchester United in the Premier League at this point. If Ten Hag was the manager when Van der Beek came to United, he might have been a very different character altogether. But at this moment in time, nah. Michael, now I'm not old enough to have seen Dennis Law, but obviously he knew a thing or two as well, to the point where he's got a statue. We are going down there, mate. You really have got to. I don't know whether you got some sort of love affair going on with Martinez, but you really want Martinez. It's not happening. Again, that's the last time I'm going to mention the name Martinez because I don't want to waste anybody's time. What else are we saying down here in the comments? Donny's injured. Yeah, he's been it. I'm done with Donny. I've moved on with. I think this team has moved on without Donny van der Beek. We are now progressing, and Donny van der Beek is not part of the conversation. He doesn't come in this team and displace Eriksen. He doesn't come in this team and displace Bruno, and therefore he doesn't come in this team. I'd like to see him there if he's playing with the Europa League and stuff like that, maybe. But Donny van der Beek will never be a regular starter for Manchester United in the Premier League. It's just going to be another one of those signings where you go, you know what? What if? What if? What else are we saying down here? You're saying I don't see us getting a striker for cheap, especially in Jan. You have to overpay because it's mid-season. It depends on the level of the striker you sign. We will not have we will not be signing somebody in, as I said, who's established and ready, because there's one of those strikers moving in January first and foremost. There might be somebody that emerges from the World Cup. Remember when we signed Javier Hernandez? I think we signed him just before the World Cup in Mexico. I think, if I remember correctly. Signed him from Guadalajara. Gee, look at that. I think it was from Guadalajara. Man, that's the type of signing we need. A Javier Hernandez. But that's what you can only do if you've got a good scouting network. It's a bit like Arsenal signing Gabriel Martinelli. As an 18-year-old from Brazil, it's just like you looked at it for 6 million and you're like, is that really going to do anything? If you scout someone properly and you nail it, look at what Martinelli just did to Liverpool. Whew. Absolutely outrageous. Outrageously good player. And that's what happens when you've got good scouts. But we don't particularly have good scouts at this moment in time. That's why we're always looking at the top tier of all the signings that are way, way too much. I can see... It seems like quite a few of you are actually serious about this when you put it in the comments, so I'm going to answer it. What? That's all I can say to the idea of Man United going and signing Mitrovic. What? Like, geez, that is a hell of a stopgap signing. No. I don't think so. I don't think that we would be going after Mitrovic. He's finally doing it. He's nailing it with Fulham this year. But fine, man. Yeah, cool, man. You're cool. That's fine. Go along. I don't want to be signing strikers like that anymore. We'd add that to the Igalo pile. Add that to the oh, geez, I can't remember all the other ones. I'm done with that. No offense to him, but geez, come on, people. Lots of you mentioning Ivan Toney, Patrick Schick in the comments, Jonathan Davies. Honestly, you can start listing off loads of strikers if you want. But you have to identify the right profile of the player, whether they're going to be right for Erik ten Hag. Like Luka Jovic, for example. Perfect example. Really. You're going to be going after Luka Jovic. That's going to suit this Manchester United. That's going to suit this Erik ten Hag team. No, it's not happening. I'm going to move on from the comments because so many of you are firing so many different names that it's getting a bit crazy down there. But a striker is needed in January. We know that. Cody Gakpo is not a striker. but his stock is rising rapidly. And I imagine he's going to be one of those players that after the World Cup, his price has just only rocketed further. Keep an eye on what he does and keep an eye on United's links to him, because we were in for him in the summer, but then we spent all our money on, of course, Anthony. And therefore that didn't happen. Now, this I definitely think is going to be an interesting talking point down here in the comments. David De Gea. He was asked after the game against Everton about, what's going on with your new contract. He said, new contract, of course. I'd like to be here for years. So we'll see what happens in the future. I'm really, really happy here at Manchester United. And that's the conversation that we need to have here. I'll be honest, I thought that was probably one of De Gea's best performances in a long time. It really, really was. De Gea, sometimes De Gea was out of his box, playing the sweeper keeper role. Quite a few of the times, De Gea was making the sorts of passes that I rarely see him make. You know, those passes that, say there's two Everton players that are 15 feet apart, and it's kind of a risky pass, unless you're really good at passing, to get that ball straight through those players and to your fullback. He made that quite a few times, and it helped with United's build-up. It really did help with United's build-up. It feels to me, well, I think it doesn't feel to me, it's the case. De Gea knows it is now or never. Because at the point where he's going to, unless he really starts nailing it between now and the end of the season, Ten Hag will just let him go for free. Josh, you're saying down here, look, you're saying that now that Ten Hag's picking who gets new contracts, I don't think De Gea gets one. Look, I can't see Henderson playing for the club again, not after that interview. Genuinely, not after that interview. But he basically said, nah, I didn't think Ten Hag didn't deserve my time. He openly admitted that he just ignored the new manager. Bro, you just tore up United contract there. That's why he's out on loan at Forest, getting draws against Villa, getting relegated. I don't see Henderson coming back. I imagine we'll sell him on. But De Gea, the thing that always, look, and I mentioned this in the podcast this morning, right? Well, last night, technically. The thing that confuses me so much about David De Gea is I remember his distribution back in the day. I remember what happened when he joined in 2011 as like a flappy youngster from Atletico Madrid. His distribution was on. He'd been schooled in the Atletico Madrid academy. He literally played his whole football career in Spain. And that was at a point where Spain were winning European Cups, World Cups, and another European Cup. Euros. Same thing. His distribution is naturally good. So this is the thing I'm interested to see. Because De Gea must have the awareness in him, and I'm sure he's aware. It's either he really becomes the goalkeeper that Erik Ten Hag wants in this team, or he'll be sold. He'll be let go. Now, Daisy, that's very much an Ed Woodward type policy. And why would De Gea sign that contract? He wouldn't. I wouldn't. You wouldn't. You just leave for free, and you get a massive signing on bonus. That's not happening. And United may then struggle to sell David De Gea if he was to sign a contract. I'm going to see what you're saying down here in the comments. We've got Donald watching from San Antonio, Texas. How you doing, buddy? Nice to have you. I know you must be a new member. I don't remember seeing your name before. We need to extend his contract and focus on the rest of his team. He'll cut. There's absolutely no way that I think United should be considering giving a contract extension to David De Gea at this moment in time. It's October the 11th. Right, Dave, let's see what you got. What is it like? How many games have we got between now and the World Cup? I think we've got about 10 games. He's not going to be at the World Cup. His form's completely dropped, and he's out of the Spanish. I think he's like the number 2 in Spain, so I think he might be going to the World Cup. But De Gea, bro, it's now or never. What he did against Everton was a bit of a taster about what he can do. He can do it. I think he's been coached differently. And now he's always he stays on his line. He's not particularly commanding. I know there's sort of frustrations about that. But I honestly don't know what the right answer is with the De Gea situation. My gut instinct is telling me to let him leave and for Manchester United to go and sign a proper Edison or Alisson type goalkeeper because it's so crucial. A, in the confidence of the defense, and B, in the actual team play, in the actual build-up. Goalkeepers are like sweepers now, old sweepers. They're not goalkeepers anymore. They can't just sit on their line, wait for someone to try and take a shot on goal and stop it. A goalkeeper is the deepest line playmaker. Sort of Guardiola has not changed that, but he's been a big advocate of that, and it's a big reason why City are just so dominant. Estavo saying De Gea will retire at United as a legend due to his longevity. I don't see him being replaced. We fought off Madrid to keep him. No, we didn't fight off Madrid. Our fax machine didn't work. That's the only reason De Gea is still a United player, man. Lee, you're saying, do you think that De Gea has been held back by his last few managers telling him to stay on his line? It feels like, in my opinion, he's been coached into a different type of goalkeeper at Manchester United. That's what it feels like. Compared to when he arrived and all the problems that De Gea had. And nobody questioned his shot-stopping ability, saving with his feet. Remember how many times people said that was an issue, and it's actually become one of his greatest strengths. And his distribution was spot on, but because he was so slight, he just couldn't deal with the physicality of the Premier League. I remember him bulking up one season, and he getting better and better. And he's never really been the commanding goalkeeper. But when it comes to distribution, I feel there's more to unlock in De Gea than we've seen so far this under Erik ten Hag. And I feel we saw a little bit against Everton. And let's find out whether or not we're going to see more of it. And I think we've got to see more of it. De Gea has to realize that if he doesn't buck up his ideas, he's just going to get let go on a free. And that's going to be the end of it. But it would suit United. Of course it would. We wouldn't have to buy a new one. It would suit Erik ten Hag as well. If he's got a goalkeeper right now that he can trust to become that modern goalkeeper. Now, that's a big ask. It really is a big ask. But I saw something against Everton that makes me think, you know what? Let's see how this develops. I'd like for it to develop. I really would. I like De Gea. Okay, who doesn't like De Gea? Jeez, he's been here through thick and thin. Is there anybody else here that was there? Jones was there under Fergie. Not many. De Gea remembers what it's like to lift the Premier League as a Manchester United player. But let's find out what goes on. What you're seeing down here. Every time he's got the ball and trying to build from the back, I'm getting nervous. It's a massive fear of mine as well. And it's a massive element of Ten Hag's football, which isn't yet defined. Ten Hag doesn't want us to be kicking it long. He wants us to play it out from the back with the ball. And we did that better against Everton than I think we have done in a long time. And we did that through a press as well. Everton were pressing very high. It wasn't as if our football out from the back against Everton was like under no pressure whatsoever. It was good. It was really, really good. What are you all saying down here? In my eyes, Van der Sar was the best. Yeah, man, I love Van der Sar. I personally don't think anybody. I like Schmeichel as well, but Van der Sar for me is just on a level above. Always has been, always will be. That's what I think so anyway. There's a video I released yesterday. I want to have a quick conversation about it because I enjoyed doing this one. I released like an analysis on Casemiro. What I did was I took a look at things, just things that happened in the game against Everton. 4 or 5 scenarios. We looked at the best of Casemiro, the worst of Casemiro. We're saying, right, this is where we want, a bit like De Gea. I could have picked the best in the world. What we saw against Everton and saying that's what we need to see more of. And the same applies to Casemiro. He's just been settling in at Manchester United. Honestly, I find it truly incredible how quickly people can make like a defined decision in their head about a player. After what? A couple of substitute appearances, there was genuinely people just writing Casemiro off as if he hasn't won 5 fucking Champions Leagues. As if he hasn't won countless trophies and titles in his entire career. And they can judge that off the fact that he's played a bit poo in a Europa League game. It's like you're just making a fool out of yourself. Now, I'm not after this game. I didn't say that Casemiro's The world's better. I think he is one of the world's best central defensive midfielders. But I analysed the game, and look, there were definite positives to his game, absolutely. But there were definite negatives too. Getting caught on the ball for the goal was just, you can't do that, bro. You've got to have your head switched on. Really, really switched on. And I think we saw a lot of that. And I'm excited to see what comes next from Casemiro. I'm so excited to see what comes next. I thought this was interesting from the article from Laurie Whitwell on Casemiro saying, look, he takes a keen interest in the aspect of getting his stats over after games. Constantly asks about his recoveries, his pass accuracy, his short passes, his long passes, because we heard about this before. Casemiro's got a little bit of an obsession with data and knowing how well he performed, so that in the next game he can look at it and go, right, I need to be better at this. I'll be better at that. And he'll get that after that game against Everton, and he'll look at the fact, I gave the ball away 17 times. I won it back 9 times, but 17 times. All right, cool. Next game, I've got to make sure that I'm more accurate with my distribution. He will go for tougher passes. That's why he got an assist for Ronaldo. But he'll look at his game previously and he'll see what was going on and he'll improve on it. And I have no doubt that Casemiro is going to start against Newcastle. McTominay suspended. McTominay will come in for the Omonia game. Casemiro will be rested and he'll start against Newcastle. And let's see what he can do against Newcastle, who are flying high right now. 5-1 winners, I think, last game. And look, he's taking English lessons. Lessons? He's taken English lessons. And remember, he said that in, I think, his first interview. He apologized for the fact that he couldn't speak Spanish. I remember he was interviewed by Andy Mitten. Casemiro's learning. And I genuinely think there will not, I've said this after the Everton game, I do not think there will be one United fan come the end of the season that doubts whether or not Casemiro was a good signing. That's why I think so anyway. Hersey, you joined in for the first time live. How you doing, buddy? Zibak, it's not happening. We're not spending 100 million. It's not happening, people. It is just not happening. And this is the thing I'm going to keep trying to reiterate to all of you. We're not spending that much on a striker. We will be signing someone in the region of 30 to 50 million. And I know that's based on an opinion more than anything, but I feel pretty damn strongly about it. It's just, I won't do that. Not after the money we spent this summer. This summer was a one-off. And that wasn't really based on any strategy. That was United crapping themselves after losing to Brentford and Brighton. And that's what happened. Let me see what's going down here. McCasey is saying Casemiro is going to be key to our success. If he improves his performance even slightly from what he did, then we will score. Casemiro is going to be the perfect foil to Eriksen and Bruno, whilst also having the capability of passing that ball forward. And that's where a big difference, I think, lies between McTominay and Casemiro. McTominay on form, again, between the Liverpool and Arsenal games, fantastic form. Really was fantastic. But he wasn't particularly capable of bringing that ball forward. And Casemiro's just Casemiro, man. I don't have to explain why he's a better footballer than Scott McTominay. No one has to. It's Casemiro. It's 5 times Champions League winning Casemiro. He will come good for United. And I think that game against Everton was him really brushing the dust off. That's where we're really going to start seeing the best of Casemiro, I think, from this point onwards. Obviously, something that happened in the game, the 700th club goal for Ronaldo. Absolute congratulations to what is, I would say, the greatest goal scorer of all time. I said to you yesterday, Erling Haaland's got to score like 35, 40 plus goals every year for the next 15 years to get to where Ronaldo is. Like, his numbers are just stupid. And I tell you what, I really genuinely, I've said this a few times now, I've said it on the podcast as well, shout out to the podcast. I think United were actively trying to get Ronaldo a goal against Omonia. And we were sort of taken away from our chances to try and get Ronaldo that goal, especially Rashford at the end. He was on a fucking hat-trick. He squared. Oh, what are you doing, Rashford? Shoot. Why are you squaring it for? But I think the whole team wanted to get the goal for Ronaldo. And I think now that is gone, honestly, for me, it feels like that game against Everton was the last game of Ronaldo's preseason. I hope that we're going to see a different Ronaldo from now on. From this point onwards, because I think Ronaldo probably was his best performance as well against Everton. It wasn't just pressing. I wasn't just saying like he's running everywhere, because that you don't just have to press without intent. But with intent, he was good. The pace was good when it needed to be. The link-up play was good when it needed to be. The leaps and the knock-ons were good when they needed to be. And the finish was there when we needed it as well. I've never, you know full well that I backed Ronaldo to be our top goal scorer this season. And Tyler, I wish nothing more than for him to start banging them in for us because we need it. I think he needs it as well, man. Remember, he's got the World Cup coming up. And in my opinion, it's his last, I think it's not opinion. I think you know it is as well. He knows it too. It's his last real chance of winning the World Cup. He needs to be in form. Only way he's doing that is playing. Only way he's doing that is scoring goals. And hopefully that does continue. Craig, let me know where you're watching from, buddy. Thank you for joining the family. What else are you saying down here in the comments? You said the lads perhaps... I think they were just being professional they're playing with an icon. They're playing with the icon, I suppose. And they want to help him get to that 700. I think they felt that weight because it was taking a long time, man. It was that penalty against Sharif and it was against Omania. He hit the post. It was just like, my God, how is this ball not going in? And then we did it against Everton and it's done. It's dusted. Let's go. But Martial, I see quite a few of you speaking about Martial in the comments. I really, really wish that Martial didn't have so many injury problems. But it does. It really, really does. Stu Backer there with an absolute scorcher of a comment. Lurkers. Nearly 1,500 lurkers on there. Make sure you drop a like on the video. People keep asking me about updates on the merchandise. I'm so excited about this. I'm delaying it because there's something else I want to add onto the t-shirts, which will elevate the quality up another notch. I've said this to you before. When it comes to merchandise, football merchandise, a lot of it is just quick, easy, the sort of stuff that a kid would wear, and that's it. It's not the sort of stuff that I would ever wear down to the pub, that you would ever wear to not a party, but you wouldn't wear outside of the football game. That's what I'm trying to do with this merchandise. So I'm trying to elevate it up to it so it feels like fashion rather than merch. And I think that's a bit of a definition that's lost in the desire to get it done as quickly as possible, as cheap as possible. So it's worth the wait. Trust me. I might give you a few more teasers across the course of the month, but I'm aiming for it to be out at the start of November. So that's a little date for you there. First time we're giving you a date. How long is Martial out for? We don't have a confirmed date yet, Tyler. But I think it was a back injury against wasn't it? It was a back injury against Everton, which was a different injury than what ruled him out before. So I don't know whether it's going to be an actual bad one, but I suppose we'll hear from Erik ten Hag tomorrow and we'll find out. Everyone was worried. Everyone feared that Varane was going to be out for ages, and he was back for the next Premier League game, albeit for 5 minutes towards the end, but fit enough to do that. That's a good thing. Let's see what happens, and let's hope that he isn't out for too long because we need him. We really, really do. Craig is saying, look, 6 more goals for Ronaldo makes it 150. Well, it's Ronaldo's constantly somehow. I swear he's always like within 5 goals of some sort of record. 5-10 goals of some sort of record. It's hilarious. Moo, you're saying, look, that the merch is going to be available absolutely worldwide, completely worldwide. Don't worry about that because we pull the map up every Friday. Imagine I only made merch for the people in the UK. That'd be harsh. Where the community is all around the world. We got Matthew watching from New Zealand. How you doing, buddy? And we got Craig watching from Cambridge. That's what I mean. All around the world. But look, Jordan, you're saying, morning, people. I'm sorry I'm late. What have I missed? We just had a big discussion and conversation mainly today about Cody Gakpo and the fact that we need a striker in January. But to reiterate what I consider the most important news of the day, Jim Ratcliffe has a Q&A tonight that's starting, there you go, at 5:15 British Standard Time. And on the agenda, it's written down here, one of the key discussion points is what are the next acquisition targets, and Manchester United is listed right there. So tonight, we should be hearing from Sir Jim Ratcliffe for the first time directly on his interest in buying Manchester United. And that's a big, big thing because of all the people who are linked with buying the club. So many different consortiums that seem shady and you don't really know what's going on. This is a man that was born less than 10 miles from Old Trafford, who grew up a Manchester United fan, who is a billionaire and who failed in trying to buy Chelsea. He's got the money and he's made it clear that he's interested in buying the club. A good comment there from Jonathan in the comments. Look, happy birthday to the man himself, Sir Bobby Charlton, 85. I thought he was older than 85, but look, He's still going strong. Big up Bobby, man. What a player! All the research I used to do on I did my dissertation on the Munich air disaster, and it was Bobby Charlton and his story that fascinated me the most. The player that he was going into Munich air disaster, surviving the Munich air disaster, and then captaining the United 10 years later to their first European Cup. It's a redemption arc that's sort of not redemption arc, but a story arc that's sort of unrivaled, steeped in tragedy, and it's his story epitomizes Manchester United, and he always has, and he always will do. Let's go down here. Rumen, mate, if he does that, it's probably more likely to be this. Unfortunately, I think Ant's correct. Sometimes Ant's correct. I imagine it won't be too exciting, but look, let's see. People asking for a link to the gym Q&A. I'll give it to you one more time. We'll wrap it up for today. It's free to join. There you go. There's a link for it. I've already signed up. I imagine it's going to be a boring as hell conversation about Ineos and their future plans, blah, blah, blah. And I imagine the United conversation will be a little bit later in the show. But look, that's the ticket there. Look at that, Red Devil Manchester. My whole family love the channel. Big up to you, my friend. Let's find out what's going on with Radcliffe. Mate, I'm doing more. I can't imagine what the party's going to be like in Manchester when the Glazers leave. It's going to be a festival. It's going to be an absolute festival. And yeah, really read that book. I've not got it on the shelf there. Where is it? Oh, actually, look. There it is. Oh, that's his England years one. That's a different one. But genuinely read that book. It's a fantastic book. But thank you, everyone, for joining in today. I'll be here tomorrow. I'll also be here at lunchtime today. Not sure what the video is going to be today, but I hope you enjoyed that Casemiro one. I enjoyed doing it. I'll do more of those sort of analysis ones because everyone seems to enjoy them. But make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're new, and I'm sure there's loads of you who are. It's free. Take you 1 second. I'll pause. There you go. You subscribe now. See you tomorrow. Take it easy.